So I think we're going live. I didn't even give us a 3, 2, 1 that time.
Oh, it did.
Oh, okay. I wasn't watching. All right. So we're live. Mike and Dave's Multiverse. We're not kicking off the show yet. We're just kind of setting stuff up. We got episode 010 of Multiverse Live. We've got a special guest today in the new year. George, is it Sekalaris?
Yeah, you got it.
Boom. I was practicing that all day in my head.
Now you're an honorary Greek American. A Greek
Fantastic. Yes.
Well,
does that make me a good wrestler automatically or what?
Maybe. Well, yeah, maybe. Greco-Roman only.
Yes.
Traditional.
Awesome. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and play my buddy's song / music video while we're getting loaded up. His name is Aiden Stickle. He's a local artist here in the area. He plays in a band called The Thrill, as well as a Bon Jovi cover band called Slippery When Wet. He's an excellent guitar player and a good buddy of mine. So we're just going to play the first couple of minutes of this video / song.
This is the guy he's played down the street from me before in a cover band.
Bon Jovi lives about 7 minutes from a house.
Cool. I've watched him a couple times in concert here, and I really love Bon Jovi. But this is Aiden's own band, The Thrill, and this is him singing and playing the guitar. So let's check it out.
Rockin' Dave's rock and roll extravaganza. Let's give it up. I know we've seen a lot of bands, been to a lot of big concerts, but tonight, in the rock and roll extravaganza showroom.
Start off with a little rock and roll.
Perfect for a New Year's episode. It's a New Year's party.
That's Aiden there. My boy. Congratulations, Aiden, on just getting married in December. Waiting for the solo.
Yeah, that's good.
Thought we started off with a little bit of energy.
Yeah, that's good. He's real good. What's he in your local area there?
He is. He's in my local area there. I actually met him at the gym like the first week I moved to Georgia. And he was just a kid back then. He was 19, and I think I was like 33 or something. But we ended up just hanging out at the gym, and we were there every day at the same time. And then we just became friends. Now, hopefully he's watching. I told him I was going to be showing that tonight. So,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, he can really shred.
Yeah, don't tell him I'm in Jersey because wow, you could tell him that, you know.
You just told him,
Bon
I think.
Jovi, yeah. That's great. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, we could go knock on his door. I don't know if he'll let us in. I don't even know if we can get on his property, but at least, I know where he lives.
Well, Aiden's cover band, or more of a tribute band, where Slippery When Wet is actually pretty good. I've seen them play twice locally, and they have a pretty good local following. So
that was awesome to hear an original song. A lot of folks have to put in their time, put in the reps playing in cover bands and tribute bands. And it's great to get an original song published and shoot a music video, no less.
Yeah. It takes a hard work. He's been going at it since he was a kid. And he's done some cool stuff. Like he's got to play on stage with the Goo Goo Dolls, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He's done like some cruise circuits and Disney some stuff at Disney. And he's in like 3 bands, I'm pretty sure. So, Aiden, if you're watching, congratulations on getting married. Congratulations on your new puppy, and thanks for letting us play your song on the show tonight.
Yeah, awesome.
The next thing we usually do.
That was a great kickoff. Welcome to Mike and Dave's Multiverse in the year 2025. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in live on a Thursday, new time, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. And we've got our special guest, George Secularis of Yiorgos Designs. He's got a website. I think he has a couple different businesses. He's a New Jersey native, right?
I've never lived anywhere else. I've been all over, but I've never lived anywhere else. So I'm my 100% Jersey boy.
Yeah, and in your bio, I thought it was interesting. It said an artist by birth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, you're born an artist. My whole family, the line of my family from going back, I don't know, decades, generations, there's always been 1 or 2 artists in the family, from my aunts in Greece to my family here as well. Singers, writers, artists. My mother's an artist. She went to School of Visual Arts. So you're kind of born an artist, and you're born a little bit different than everybody else.
Yeah, maybe different in a good way, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, different in a good way, different in a creative way. I think that that's part of my belief system and what I believe the purpose of life is. So creationism.
Yeah, and that's the sort of one of the themes of your your philosophy in general that we'll get to later on in the show, as well as a new article that you've just had published in the newly minted Pharos magazine, which we're really excited about here at Mike and Dave's Multiverse. So we're really excited to get one of the contributors to it, George, on the show.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, the magazine off. I was really glad to be able to read this over Christmas break, Christmas holiday on my tablet.
Yep. I've been actually printing out hard copies of them just because it's easier for me to read, and I'm more of a tactile guy. I don't have George's one printed out in front of me, but I do have one of the other ones. We're going to talk about this guy later too, but Jason Quitt wrote this one.
Incredible.
It is an incredible article, but I had to read it like at least 3 times. Very technical. And just FYI, if Jason's watching, he's actually going to come on the live stream in 2 weeks. We're really excited about that as well. And let's get into the show, Mike. Ready?
Welcome aboard.
Right. We'll do a little housekeeping, like and subscribe. If you guys like our content, the subscriptions go a long way on YouTube. And hit the notification bell. If you want to support the channel, we're doing this all for free. We just created a Buy Me a Coffee account at Mike and Dave's Multiverse.
I'll pull up the Buy Me a Coffee.
Yeah, we're gonna
We're,
pull
we're
that
giving
up.
away coffees.
Yep. So if you feel like donating $1 or 10 to the cause, let us know and buy us a coffee. You got the tunes going? Nice. Turn those bad boys up. So this is a local artist that created this song, local to Columbus, Georgia, and he's allowing us to use this.
Shout out to Mr. Joby. I'm still planning on running into him at the local record shop because we both frequent the joint. We just haven't showed up at the same time yet. But I bought the CD there last year, right around the time we started the show, and it's been perfect for our bumper music, intro music, that type of thing.
Yeah, I like rhythm bass.
Yeah, he's got a whole little album like this. So.
Yeah, that's my type of music right there. Chill music, backyard pool.
I've been getting into. Have you ever done like lo-fi channels on YouTube?
Yeah, listen to a lot of all different types of music. I prefer this type as well. Anything with rhythm. I try to dance once a day.
Yeah. See, I guess we don't have that in common. I'm the world's worst dancer, and I think it's the probably
Here we go.
me. Yeah, here's our Mike and Dave's Multiverse Buy Me a Coffee page. It has the link to all 5 of our channels across all platforms, which we're on Rumble, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube. We have some presence on Facebook and some presence on Instagram as well. Yeah, if you want to
Spotify being the new one. Spotify is our newest edition. We've uploaded our previous interviews on Spotify, the little short videos, and I think the lives are not on there, but our main series of interviews available on Spotify.
Sweet. And apparently we have 15 viewers going on right now. If you're in there in the chat, say hello. If you have any questions for myself, Mike, or George, go ahead and post them in there and let us know where you're watching from. All right, let's get into the solar news, solar weather. So we like to cover solar, basically global weather in the form of solar weather, earthquakes, and local asteroids and meteors and comets that are in our area that may pose a threat. We do this weekly because we like it, and also because it kind of goes along with the theme of the lost ancient history of humanity, right? And the Younger Dryas impact theory, and the idea that this may not be the first iteration of human civilization that grew to like an advanced level. So take it away, Mike.
That's right. So there was a minor geomagnetic storm yesterday. I was just pulling up the tweets from Ben. KP index did hit 8 last night, and he got some replies, some tweets. I'm trying to find the right. This page keeps going back to the top. Here we go. This is from Sweden last night. Aurora activity.
Wow.
Not too far out of range of the territory where you normally get aurora activity, but they were pretty strong.
Have you guys got any auroras up there, George? I know they've been coming lower this year.
Love the picture.
Yeah, I got that picture this year, as a matter of fact. First time I've ever seen it over New Jersey.
Wow. You guys have seen a lot of over the skies in New Jersey lately that we'll get into.
Yeah, that's we could spend hours on that. But yeah, absolutely. Those pictures there are magnificent. The one that I was fortunate to get was more pink across the sky. I didn't see too much green, but I did post it on my Instagram. It's first time I've seen it over the skies of Jersey.
Brittany, can you find that picture that, if possible, on George's Instagram?
Yeah, it's 50 like that. That looks. That's what an ancient would look at and say that's an angel from heaven.
Oh, we got a Marcus Rodriguez listening and cooking from College Station, Texas. Hello, Marcus.
Tuning in, Marcus. I appreciate it.
All the way from College Station, Texas. We got Georgia. We got Portugal in the house. What's up, Ricardo?
And Ricardo, we were just saying my long lost cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about you a little bit before the live stream, but we mostly good.
Yep. All right, so that was yesterday, and here you can see the geomagnetic activity was pretty brief that it peaked. So some nice aurora pictures from
Very cool.
northern Sweden last night, but nothing too major to be worried about today.
Can I go ahead and share
Yeah.
Ricardo, or not Ricardo, George's picture?
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
go right ahead.
Do it really quick. This is one George took when? 11 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was
Awesome.
right over my house. I've never seen anything like that.
Incredible. We've got some people watching from Ontario. Have you guys seen auroras? And Don wants to know what's for dinner, Marcus. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I'm a little hungry myself. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that bad boy. What's next?
Share another tab. Earthquakes. We cover earthquake activity on the channel, volcanic activity, that type of thing. I wanted to go in a little more depth. This is the USGS website that we normally show, and I think typically I have it on the 1 day or the 7 day, but I just wanted to point out you can categorize the activity. So in the last 7 days, there's hardly been anything over a 4.5 magnitude in the U.S.
But there has been a bunch under 4.
Yep, which is good news. Now, if I go 2.5 and above, you can see a little more activity on the West Coast, Northern California, and a little bit down by the border of Mexico, as well as a few seismic activities in Western Texas.
Is that typical? Is there a fault line in Texas like that? Because New Jersey's been a little strange place over the last year. We had 3 earthquakes here. And again, I remember one in my life, and we had 3. They weren't major, but you felt them.
You could perceive them. You were able to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if there's a fault line. Brittany, if you're listening, check and see if there's a fault line that goes through Texas. There's a lot of fear mongering out there online, but what I was picking up from X and from YouTube was that there has been an increase in small activity on the San Andreas. So there's been like several under 3 in the week, and apparently that's a lot. But yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not going to bro science you guys and pretend like that's real, but that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah,
nothing out of the ordinary, though. Just something we like to show, something we like to stay aware of.
Yep. We've also got yes, Texas has many fault lines, including the Balcones Fault that runs from Del Rio in the southwest to Dallas in the north central region. The Balcones Fault has been inactive for nearly 15 million years. There's also the Luling Fault, hopefully I'm saying that right, that runs near Austin, East Franklin Mountain. Interesting. Well, something's going on there recently anyway. It must not be that Falcones one.
Yeah. On the deep digging, maybe building or creating long tunnels from coast to coast to under 100 meters worth of rock, so you could get coast to coast in 3 hours.
Yep.
Don says they've seen some auroras there, but only a little bit because they're in the city. In Ottawa, I believe. No, Canada.
That makes a big difference looking for anything. Comets, meteor showers, eclipses. If you're in the middle of the city, you got city lights. You can't see anything at night.
Right. There is a fault located in El Paso that has the potential to create 6.0 or larger magnitude earthquakes, just FYI.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's pretty interesting.
Sorry, had chicken hands, chicken stir fry. Marcus is making chicken stir fry. All right. We doing some meteors now, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, buddy. So we do our eyes on asteroids we got from NASA. This is just a really cool. You can change the plane and that kind of thing. What I want to do though is click on the new feature Asteroid Watch, and it zooms in on I guess the next 5 closest approaches to Earth. So there's a close approach from this asteroid 2025 AC, distance 140,231 kilometers. It's 5.5 meters, and it's going to pass close in about 42 minutes. I'm not going to read all these off, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what's in our cosmic neighborhood. This one's 14 meters. It's going to pass by us from a distance of 1,306,000 kilometers. But I think 14 meters is pretty darn big for an asteroid. That's passing by in about 5 hours. Got a 13.6 that's actually pretty close, 153,000 kilometers. It's going to pass by in 7 hours.
Absolutely.
Does this actually track where you can see it in the sky?
I don't know, but I know I have a telescope that does that. But you have to align the telescope to the sky, and it's kind of an intricate process. But it's not that hard. But like it's kind of hard when it's cold out at nighttime. But yeah, most modern telescopes you can buy have like computer functions that can do that. They have to track, the orbit of the Earth, the rotation of the Earth, the movement of the asteroid, all those different things. But that's all in a database somewhere.
I have a post on X. It's really similar to that. You want me to pull that up now? Or
yeah. Let me do this last one because it's a big boy, 30 meters. And it's going to come within 5 million kilometers, which is actually pretty close, cosmically speaking, for a gigantic 30-meter asteroid. I feel like one like that would do a little damage.
That's about 90 feet. That's a rather large, rather large asteroid.
It's a big boy, yeah. And sometimes it's a game of cosmic pool out there, right? They have like billiards because they have the trajectory of an asteroid, but then something happens, one hits another one, and then knocks one off course, and then all of a sudden maybe 5 million kilometers turns into 50,000 or something, and it's a really close flyby. So,
or what about I always like the scenario: something flies into the sun from one side, so other stuff fly out from the sun on the other side. Doesn't could be multiple instances.
Yeah, it could change trajectory several times.
Yeah, and I think that happens probably more than we realize. There's a I think they're a nonprofit organization, but they're an organization called the Comet Research Group that Graham Hancock talks about a lot. They put a lot of effort and work into tracking this stuff, and I really think it's important. Like it's not like we don't have evidence that this stuff hits the Earth all the time. So, what are we looking at, Mike?
This is an animation of our solar system, and I think we do a good job to imagine our Earth and all the other planets spinning and rotating around the sun. But let's not forget that the entire sun itself is spinning through the galaxy, moving through the galaxy, and this is an animation that reflects all of those movements.
That's the textbook version.
It's incredible.
The entire thing flying through the sky itself at all times.
What kind of omnipotent being made that thing? That's crazy.
It shows an incredible sign of advanced design. It's totally created.
In my opinion, yeah. That's wild.
Short animation. Yep. And basically that's the gravitational center of the galaxy through which all the stars are sort of spinning about, revolving, and then all the planets around those stars also revolve.
Very cool. We're up to
7. If you look at a galaxy itself, it looks like a hurricane. If you look at all of the galaxies, the way that they are shaped and formed, it resembles a hurricane. So they all spin around a black hole, so to speak, and it creates the same type of effect.
Yeah, you notice that a lot in nature, like at very small scales and very large scales, the same patterns all the time, and that feels a little on purpose,
Yeah, it looks like a piece of creationism. So, it looks like it was created, and it's the same model and the same pattern. And for someone like me who doesn't believe in coincidence, it was an intelligently designed creation.
It sure looks like it. Brittany says we got 6 people watching on X. Thank you very much, everyone watching on X. 10 on YouTube and 7 on Rumble. Very cool.
Something I wanted to pull up, just since it's on the tab. I've been really pleased to support standard time, abolish daylight savings time movement on Twitter. It just pleases my heart to know that there's people like me that see it as simply as it is. Clocks are not arbitrary. Time measures nature. When the sun's directly overhead, we call that noon. When the sun's on the other side of planet Earth, directly overhead, that's called midnight. And everything else in between, you just dice it up into 12 pieces. This is a very simple concept. So not only is daylight savings time a fallacy, we need to be careful about the time zones. Here's a map of the time zones of the world, and you can see where humans have intervened and have made squiggly lines that don't really reflect the position of the sun. So it's a very interesting situation here on planet Earth. I advocate for a return to true standard time instead of these gerrymandered time zones. Ideal standard time zones would be best for everybody, no matter where you're at. So thank you for hearing me out on that one.
Hey,
I tend to agree with you on that. I think that's more orderly, and that's actually the natural process of time and space, time, sun, moon.
yeah, Mike's been waiting for that. That he's been preparing that for 2 weeks now.
It just pleases
let's write a paper on that, and we'll present it. I think that'll be a good idea.
That's a great idea.
That actually is a really good idea, and that's something Mike would definitely do. Yeah, for me, I've never noticed, like, it's never like, I don't know. The one day I go, oh yeah, it's like my oven clock is the wrong time, and then I forget about it. It doesn't. I don't feel like it affects me like in any particular way, but it must, right? It must affect my circadian rhythm in some imperceptible way. But I'm usually up before the sun comes up anyway, so it's never been a problem for me. I like to wake up like literally 2 to 3 hours before the sun.
Yeah, I'm up at 5:18 for whatever reason. That's the number.
Yep.
And I'm usually sleeping 9:30. Like I said, I'm 51 years old, so I'm not 25 anymore. We could stay up all night and wake up whenever, but so I'm up 5:18, bed 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm out. But yeah, I like to wake up before everybody else does and watch the world wake up. I think it gives me that certain time before the kids wake up, before even some of the birds wake up. That's me. And honestly, within that time, I have my coffee, 2 coffees, and I create things as well. Peace, quiet, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that time too. Like, I feel very at peace, like when everyone else is asleep and I'm waking up. I get like some good calm thinking done. I do a little meditation. I do a little stretching. Before when I was younger, I would get up and like exercise like a maniac, but I've had to sort of alter that as I've gotten older. But I still do a little exercise before most people are even awake. And if the days that I don't, I definitely feel a little off. Like I don't feel like I got to be myself fully for that day.
I jump rope in the morning, then sit ups at night. So I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah, we've got Don Davidson in near Ottawa, Ontario. He says, "I'm all for getting rid of the time change every 6 months. I always lose sleep. Let's go, Mike."
You got a fan right there. We're putting the piece together, Mike. We're going to start writing the piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Baseball cards before work. That's my brother in his YouTube channel. If you're into baseball cards or comic books, check him out. He said, "I'd still like to reserve the right to fall back when I please, though."
and that's good news, because falling back is when we revert to natural time. Springing forward is what's unnatural. Springing forward, wait for it, folks. Springing forward was a way to sucker everybody into going to work early for most of the year now. That's all it amounts to. They can't convince you to go to work early, but they can convince everybody to change their clocks all at the same time. So that's why we should do it.
It's a psyop, man. It's a psyop.
Yeah, that's the pattern now. Once they figured out they could trick you with one thing, they just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna move into. Are we good to move into archaeology, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to move into our archaeology portion of the show. We like to cover a little bit of that. I've been obsessed with mounds lately, earthworks, Native American mounds. Mike and I are reading a book right now, Mound Builders, Edgar Casey's Forgotten Record of Ancient America by Dr. Greg L. Little. And Dr. Little has graciously accepted an invitation to come on the show and talk about his book. So we're pumped up about that. I'm going to first show a mound from a hill in Norway, which is a new discovery. It says, and this is from wildhunt.org, archaeologists, mysterious hill in Western Norway is region's largest burial mound. I didn't know they even had burial mounds of that nature in I mean, I suppose it's obvious, but I just never heard of it or anything like that. But it says, in the tranquil seaside town of Gloppen, archaeologists have announced that a prominent mysterious hill with sweeping views of the fords is the largest man-made burial mound in Western Norway and one of the largest in the Nordic countries. The announcement made on December 20th, 2024, that's why I wanted to bring this up. It's a new discovery by the Norwegian Ministry of Cultural Heritage, sheds new light on the region's ancient history and cultural significance. So I just wanted to show this mound. It looks like an absolutely gorgeous place in Norway too. Anyone ever been to Norway? Either in the comments or Mike or George?
No, I have never been there, but Norway, Finland, Sweden. There's a part of Finland that's called Lapland, which I heard is just totally magnificent. I know people that have gone to that part of Europe and that part of the world, and they said it's look. This is like a typical scene from that whole area, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, in this picture, I'm counting like 8 waterfalls or something, and it kind of reminds me of when we were driving through Scotland. I felt like I saw 100 waterfalls last year. So anyway, I just didn't know that there was such a mound building culture in that part of the world. So I'm excited to look more into that.
So what's your theory about those? Obviously, the academics call them burial mounds, but those mounds exist all throughout, from what I understand, the United States as well, from Mississippi and Alabama all the way to Ohio, and I'm sure there's tens of thousands of them throughout the world.
Well, I'm still getting into it's the world. There's a world opening up to me about this through this book, as well as people I've been communicating with on X. And
I think multifunctional. So
right.
really the main reason there weren't taller buildings or more intricate buildings in, say, the southeastern United States is because you didn't have the materials to work with. You didn't have stone quarries to get so you could build pyramids and stuff. You basically had a lot of mud. So building a mound was about the best you can do with mud. Build one, 10, 20, 30 feet high. And it seems like some were certainly used for burials or maybe ceremonies, but some were probably functional. And some were sort of like the town center, that there would have been maybe food storage, that type of thing, in addition to some ceremonial.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't rule out like equinoctial alignments. That kind of thing. Solstice alignments. A lot of these, stone monuments were built in the same way so that they could track, the time of year through the summer or the solstice and the equinox. So it's definitely to do with that. I'd be purely speculating, but if you're a subscriber to the Younger Dryas catastrophe theory, it doesn't necessarily have to be an impact. It could be anything. There likely was a global civilization that could communicate across the world and had similar building styles and similar technology and similar understanding of the cosmos. And, and it is interesting that you see similar mounds, in Norway, in the United States. I'm finding out that they're everywhere in the United States. There's some in Canada that I'm super excited about as well. I want to show those, but I wanted to let George comment on what do you think, man?
So like you said, I don't even think we're the second civilization that has lived on this planet.
Likely not.
I think we could be the fifth or sixth, maybe even seventh. And I think that each cataclysm wiped out 3/4 or 7/8 of the population. I mean, theoretically, it could be 10, 20 civilizations. I have no idea. But I know we're not the first. And I know, at least that's what I believe. I can't say I know. I don't want to speak in definitive. But they could also be. Has anybody, I've never seen anybody cut them open. I've never seen anybody excavate anywhere. Could they be ancient water systems, ancient piping systems that delivered water from one location to another? Some of them are, for instance, the one in Ohio, specifically the Serpent Mound, is specifically created as a serpent with some type of egg in its mouth that faces a certain way. So that could be tied with the rising sun, the summer solstice. Others don't have any type of structure from what I've seen. It looks like a straight mound. So it could be anything. It would all be speculation and theory. Unless we've been there and watched them do it and we have it on video, it could be anything.
Right. And I think that if we consider like how old they could possibly be, their form that they're in now is likely like just completely diminished from their original form, and we're just looking at, the leftovers. But I've been learning just that there's they're not all serpents, but there are mounds with astronomical alignments everywhere. Mike and I have visited a couple different places. We got some editing to do and whatnot, but we visited 2 different sites here in Georgia, and we're trying to visit more. And so but just to mention the book a little bit, the book is about Edgar Cayce for those of you who don't know, Edgar Cayce was probably the most famous American psychic of all time. And he did all kinds of readings and stuff. This book opened my eyes to like his ability. I really had no idea. But he was able to predict with some pretty good accuracy, 80-90%, I think, on like where you can find these mounds and stuff like that. And a lot of them have been discovered because of his readings and predictions, which is kind of crazy.
One of the things Edgar Cayce spoke about in particular was Atlantis and how that civilization destroyed itself. So, and a lot of the readings that he had, from what I understand, were accurate on an interpersonal level, where they would speak about a certain disease somebody has that he never even met.
Mm-hmm.
It was pinpoint, and he would go into a meditative stance and sit there and break apart people's lives, and he never met them before. So he was the Nostradamus of our day, more or less. But his accuracy was, like you said, 90% or so. It's rather impressive.
I think one of the most interesting things about Edgar Cayce, that 80-90% success rate was, especially when he was diagnosing illnesses and identifying the causes of illnesses for people when it was like a just cause. But it was documented also when he would try to, say, predict the stock market or locate, treasure or whatnot have you, basically material gain, not unnecessary material gain. Whenever he tried to interact with that, he would physically become ill. Not only would the reading produce data that was, not useful, the person wouldn't win at the stock market, he would be ill for several days. And eventually he said, I'm not going to do those readings anymore. I get sick after that. Let's only do things that people need for healing and whatnot. So,
when you, in the Greek culture, when you want to remove the evil eye from someone that is capable of removing that evil eye actually obtains that illness. So if someone is carrying that evil eye and someone has put evil thoughts, wishes, whatever on someone else, when you remove that evil eye from somebody, you inherit that energy, because that's all it is. So there's something to it, and I've seen it, and I've experienced it, and I've done it.
Yeah, that's why I quit being a mental health therapist, because I was dead serious. I'm like taking bad juju home with me.
Absolutely, and that's all it is. You inherit the energy. You're accepting that energy.
Yeah,
and you're taking that energy from someone else. it's like an energy vampire, so to speak, where you're pulling that energy from them, but
Yeah.
you're carrying it, and then you carry that burden. So it's a very difficult thing, and you need to. The whole thing is you need to be prepared to do that. Edgar Casey gave up on that, like you said, saying, "I can no longer do this anymore because that burden to carry, that's too strong of a burden to carry." I mean, to do it once in a while, and to do it for like on your child or what have you, that's worth it because then you carry that negative energy, or you
Yeah.
carry that sickness.
I was doing that for 25 people a week for a while, and the thing is you can a lot of therapists, they put up a barrier, so that emotional barrier, but then you're not doing a good job. Like if you've got this like barrier up, then you're not. For me, I was not. I needed to stay personal with the people in order to make a connection, in order to build rapport. I couldn't have this like. Like I'm wearing rubber gloves and a mask or something around my clients. It felt weird, right? So I would open myself up, and it just kicked my butt. So,
And that's how it works. That's soul energy. And
yeah.
that's what I said to my therapist. I said, I don't know how you do this all day long. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned Serpent Mound. So I'm actually going to get into something about a new Serpent Mound. It's not new, it's old, but it's not on a lot of people's radar. And it is in, let's go.
Ontario?
It's in Ontario, near a place called Keene, Ontario. It is under the, I guess, caretakership, if that's a word, of the Hiawatha First Nation peoples of Ontario. It's been closed to the public for over a decade, but they recently got a $100,000 grant from the government to hopefully open it up. This is where it's located, in this beautiful spot. It's called Serpent Mounds Park. It's on the shore of Rice Lake. I know we got some Ontarians. Are you guys anywhere near this place? So in 2009, it was closed. I'm going to switch to a different tab now.
So
go ahead.
Academics and the government, let's just put it that way, they close these sites and they make it limited access for a reason. There's no reason. If it's only a mound with dirt, then why close it and not allow people to have access to it? I understand, okay, no, you don't want people to ruin it or walk on it, whatever. You could put ropes around it and make it like, okay, here's what, and you can't go, just like they do with the dunes here in New Jersey on the beaches, where you can't go here because there's certain wildlife and you don't want to disturb them. But for them to close it and you can't go anywhere near it, that's why I always think the simplest answer is always the best answer. Why do that? For what? Why close it so nobody can go there?
Yeah, you'd think it'd be worth some money. Like people it would have tourism and whatnot. And the official excuse is money. But like you said, it's a small mound complex, and there's a community. I'm gonna. You had somebody, George Danny Sakalaris, saying hi.
Yeah, my brother
in the chat. Oh, hello.
We'll take a break and say that hi to my family that's watching, Danny and Nico, my godson Nico, and little Danny, and everybody else from my family if they're watching.
Cool. Shout out to George's family.
Thanks for tuning in.
So I'm going to change to a different article, but on the same topic. This good news is the Hiawatha First Nation is having a powwow. Everyone welcome. May 18th, 19th. I guess that already happened to 2024. My bad. So they had one. Hopefully they have another one this year. But I guess the idea was to raise money and get interest in the site. So if they have another one here next year, my plan is to go and kind of try to make friends, charm my way in, and see if I can get to know someone who can get me access to the site. I have a friend. I believe she's watching right now. She reached out to the people who are in charge of the site, for both through email and through phone, but wasn't able to get a hold of anyone. So if anyone's watching from Hiawatha First Nation or lives anywhere near Rice Lake or Keene, Keene, Ontario, I'd love to talk to you and see if I can get connections to get some access to this site. We want this site to get love. Okay, we want this site to get some exposure. I'm going to show you another thing about this site. This is from allbinger.me, whose post is called Ramblin' Boy, but he's got a lot of stuff on here about this site. And I'm going to go first read you guys. Actually, that's a beautiful shot of the area and the lake. Vintage, the mid 1960s. It says the Serpent Mounds. The principal mound of this group is the only known example in Canada of a mound of serpentine shape. So supposedly this is of serpentine shape. We can be the judge of that here in a second. The earliest archaeological excavation on the site was carried out by David Boyle in 1896. Shout out to my new friend Jason Quitt, who sent me a whole excerpt from that art from this David Boyle's work that I have to dig into because I just got it earlier today. But artifacts and skeletal remains were discovered, but the first comprehensive investigation was not started until 1955. The mounds, somewhat similar to those of the Ohio Valley, that's the Serpent Mound we mentioned earlier, appear to have been built while the region was occupied by natives of the Point Peninsula culture and are thought to have been religious or ceremonial in nature. Of course they were. They're always thought to be that.
Yeah, but exactly what I was saying before. It's everything's. So what is the real purpose of these mounds is the question, because academia will say, oh, everything's religious. And yeah,
Right.
I've noticed that people who don't understand the technology of today simply can't fathom technology of the past.
Right. And that's most people today. Most people have no idea how any of their stuff works, including me, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, technology loves me one day and hates me the next. And maybe it's just because I guess there's like the old timers used to say, oh, you young kids. So I think that's it. Maybe I'm getting old, but yeah, one day it loves me. Once it breaks, I'm finished. I call my brother Mike and say, hey, what's this? And he starts yelling at me. I'm not there. I don't know. So yeah, I get that for 100%.
Yeah, me too. So numerous burials have been found in the mounds, which are estimated to have been constructed about the 2nd century AD. So right here is a sort of a drawing that Boyle guy did, David Boyle, I think, 1896. That's what do you guys think that looks like? Comments in the comments are welcome.
Yeah, it looks like a sperm fertilizing an egg.
It does. It does. It definitely does.
And that's what the one in Ohio looks like to me as well.
Yep. So this excerpt says, is it even a serpent? David Boyle came up with the notion that he was looking at an effigy mound depicting a serpent and an egg. His drawing shows a somewhat serpentine figure with the egg just to the left of the mouth of the snake. Claimed to have found a serpent with an egg effigy in Ohio a few years before, and Boyle would have been aware of it. We're going to see a direct comparison between the two sites here in a second. Here's a showing the elevations and orientation of the site. It definitely looks serpentine to me. Jason Quitt, I don't know how he determined this, but he told me he 100% says that it faces the summer solstice. And I definitely want to confirm that. Not that I don't want to take his word for it, but yeah, I want to confirm that. If that's true, then that we've got yet another solstice or equinoctial marker here.
Have either of y'all, Dave or George, ever used the Stellaris software where you can type in geocoordinates, basically any location on Earth, and then dial in the time, and it will take you to how that sky would have looked at that location at that time?
Yeah, I've seen that before. That also could look in that picture right there looks like an asteroid with a tail looking to hit something as well. So 3-4 islands. So if you really want to get, if you really want to push theory, those are 4 islands, and that asteroid with the tail is hitting that larger island.
And that's not too far out of the realm of speculation. That is like we see this a lot. You see this in petroglyph carvings in the southwest of the United States. You see this in Turkey. You see this everywhere. So
It could mimic the electrical discharge seen from a coronal mass ejection interacting with the ionosphere on Earth, or some type of plasma after a solar outburst.
Yeah, the plasma thing's wild because you'll see depictions of plasma orbs that look exactly like what a plasma orb supposedly looks like in like petroglyph carvings all over the world.
Yeah, now this in particular, the one in Ohio, looks like a snake.
For sure. This is 100% a serpent shape. But I think, like Mike said, likely multifunctional. And likely, like George was saying, not like probably much older than we think it is. But this is a real good look at that. We'll get a little side by. This is an artist drawing, same thing, drawn around the same time as the last one was. I thought this picture was kind of cool because it shows the elevation really well. I was terrible at land navigation in the military. That's what this kind of looks like to me. But it also shows the the other mounds, so in relation as far as their elevation goes.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I don't know, man. What do you guys think that looks like? This is Burial Mound E is the biggest one.
That could be anything, like a bird. It could look like anything really. I mean, again, it looks those little is that ABC, DBC, whatever.
Yeah.
Islands. Like the one in Ohio specifically looks like a snake. The other ones have different shapes.
Yep.
It could be multifunctional. Someone could have created this to tell a story. That's definitely a sperm to me, fertilizing an egg. That's the way that I would look at it. Again, the simplest answer is usually the right answer.
I agree. Occam's razor, right?
Occam's razor is correct. Yeah, that's exactly.
And it could have been part of a series of buildings that were as elaborate as the Nazca lines, but this was built mostly out of mud and very soft earth because it's all that's available in the area, and it simply would have been washed out over the same amount of time.
Somebody could have been an artist and said, "Hey, check this out. Look what I could do." It could be anything. The fact that they label it as one thing, just specifically focused towards the academia, the mainstream academia, they always have the same answer for every single thing without thinking anywhere else. Forget about thinking out of the box. That's how it is, and that's it. And it's regurgitated this way, and it's taught this way, when in fact there's no open discussion. It's always a religious ceremony. It's this, it's that. But yet, again, it could be anything. It could be a guy fooling around one day, say, check what I can do. Anything.
Right. And that's why I meant to say, if I could elaborate from earlier, there's plenty of pieces of technology that I depend on every day that I don't fully understand. But what I meant to say was that an academic who is not fully versed in the technology of today is not going to attribute any technology to a past society simply because they are not, they don't have that handle on today's technology.
They're not looking through that lens, through it by the same lens, right?
Yeah.
No, they don't. I mean, you look at the technology that was created by Nikola Tesla versus Edison, and the technology of both, the majority of the people don't understand.
Yeah.
They understand Edison's easily because they could see a light bulb. But if you look at Nikola Tesla's designs, the alternating current, the direct current, and how all of a sudden we're using solar panels that are direct current. And if you don't use it immediately, it's gone. So you need to store it. So now there's a different. So the majority of the people have no idea how anything works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple comments I wanted to read out. Don Davidson says, looks serpent. They had no microscope back then, but who knows if they could, it may be a fertility symbol. Yeah. And that's what we mean by multifunctional, multi-purpose. Baseball cards before work says, good point. History, myths, and legends. Our boy Ricardo, he said he was somewhat distracted, but the egg in the mouth is where the meteorite fell, or so I believe.
Yeah.
He's talking about the Ohio mound. Right now, I've got a picture up. It's one of the best pictures I could find of this serpent, the quote, serpent mounds in Keene, Ontario, on Rice Lake. That's one of the reasons why I want to go out there. According to Jason Quit, this place is overgrown, and hopefully they're using that grant to clean it out. I have a friend who's a registered drone operator that lives somewhat in the area, which would be useful. And I'm really thinking about getting it like a small team together, as long as we can get access from the First Nation, and really do this site some service, do a real good video of it, maybe get an article for Pharos Magazine on this site. Let us know in X if anyone's watching, or contact us on any of our thing if you have any suggestions or any knowledge about this site that we don't. What we really need is connections to Hiawatha First Nation. I think it's going to be one of those, you need to know someone to get a look at the site. But it doesn't look like any significant work's been done there in almost 80 years. So, let's show this site some love. And the last thing I want to show in relation to this site is just the, where are we at? The Google Earth image of it. I can't even see. So this is what Jason meant by overgrown. You can see the little town of Keene over here, I believe. Maybe that's called Rice Lake Town, but the biggest town there is Keene. I don't even see the mounds here. Do you guys?
No, it looks like it's all overgrown. It's very difficult to see like that.
Yep. And so that's kind of what they're, fighting against is, time and like no care on the site.
Or
yeah,
hidden on purpose, like the pyramids in China, allegedly, they planted trees on, grass on to make it look like a mound.
Yeah.
So, purposely hidden for a specific reason. Again, if it's dirt and if it's religious, ceremonial, why go through all that trouble to hide it?
If I were to speculate, which I like doing, I would say,
well, that's why we're here.
It's all right. Yeah.
I would say that they're covering up the real history of humanity, because if we actually did know that civilization was cyclical and that we aren't the most advanced version of humans before, it would really upend the global paradigm and what everyone believes to be reality. And, then people won't want to buy a lot of stocks or get injections or take medication. And I know I'm speculating now, but that's what I do.
You're on the right track. It's nothing more than control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's power, because if they control all the knowledge, or at least the true knowledge, then it's easy to control you. So Mike and Dave are easily controlled if George knows 50 times more things than Mike and Dave, and I can control you, and that's the key. So by labeling it as ceremonial or religious, or it's just an easy way for people to buy into the propaganda.
Yeah, I agree. And that's happening right now with a lot of things going on up in the skies of New Jersey, a little pretending like they don't know what's going on when they do. We'll get to that though. I still got a few more things I want to show.
Yeah. Did you want to talk? Let me throw something out there real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Former President Jimmy Carter passed away like yesterday or the day before, I think it was, very recently. And this is a very big deal since Dave and I live in the state of Georgia.
Yes, I read that and saw that, and that was one of the things that I saw about 15, 20 years whenever that came out. Incredible.
Yep. And I just wanted to point out the most that I learned about former President Jimmy Carter was from a book by John Perkins named Confessions of an Economic Hitman. This guy worked for an American consulting firm and spent a lot of time in South America during the 70s and 80s, and knew a lot about geopolitics down there. and he offers an interesting perspective on the various American presidents throughout those years. And I thought about it this week when I saw the news about Jimmy Carter. If anyone in the audience is interested in how American influence operates abroad, this book is worth reading by a real person. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I learned about it from Spontaneous Evolution by Bruce Lipton, which is another excellent book.
they did a documentary on it as well. I did both. I read that book, and then I also watched the documentary, and he explains exactly how the American influence throughout the world. It's just the highest. It's the ultimate form of corruption.
It is. There.
And you know what Ricardo was referring to regarding the meteor hitting that portion of Ohio, allegedly from another documentary that I saw, where they spoke specifically about the certain indentation or valley in that part of Ohio. So that's when he was referring to the meteor hitting that portion or that part of the serpent's mouth. That's what he was referring to. I think it's a pretty good theory.
I do too. If I were to guess, I'm a big proponent of the comet theory. I'm with. I hear what Robert Schoch's saying, and I very much respect him. And I bet you that has played a role in the sun. Solar outbursts have played a role in the cyclical cycles of human civilization. But I think specifically Younger Dryas was a comet impact that hit the North American ice sheet. And I think that's why, like, I think that a lot of what we see, earthworks and mounds and stuff, are a little more primitive in that area than they are in Egypt and in Turkey and stuff, because the major impact was in like sort of Minnesota type area, right? So it might have taken that civilization a lot longer to recover. And that's why you hear stories of people from the old civilization bringing knowledge over to that side of the world. Your what's that guy's name? Kukulkan, Khan, is that his name? No.
Yeah, Kukulkan.
Yeah, the feathered serpent.
He had the same name. That was allegedly, they called him Trismegistus. They call him Hermes in Greece. Thoth. He was allegedly the same character.
Yeah, there's another name that's popping up. It won't come into my brain, but it probably will in a second. But he had another name as well.
Quetzalcoatl.
That's it. Quetzalcoatl. Yeah, and supposedly it's either the same guy or the same type, the same people that spread out. So if you guys can imagine, a ancient civilization gets basically 90% wiped out, but they built time capsules all over the world, and they've had ancient wisdom teachers passing on the knowledge. And then when like the nuclear winter, whatever you want to call it, is over, they spread that knowledge back out to the world. And that's what we see.
Well, this goes right along with some of the genetic data that's talked about in this Mound Builders book. That there's certain basically strands of DNA they can analyze that are unique to certain populations that's present only in Japan, let's say, in China, and then some parts of South America. Nowhere else across Siberia, nowhere across the North American continent where that DNA should be present, according to archaeological theories about migration across the Siberian. But if it's only present in southern South America and some obscure parts of China, how else do you explain that? Other than maybe there was a central civilization in the South Pacific that was destroyed due to geological changes? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Or we go back even further, when South America and Africa were connected, where they were joined as one. So, they could say that the tectonic shift, because you just look at it and they fit together perfectly. So let's say there was a major cataclysm that split the earth in that part of the world, and the continent was formed and drifted off, but it was one huge continent. So we're talking, millions of years ago. So that's why I said before that are we the first civilization? We might not even be the fifth. We could be the seventh. So those stones that are built and those structures, it might not have been you got on a boat and went across 3,000 miles of ocean in the middle of nowhere and you walked through desert. and you walk through jungles and just built this ridiculous structure out of nowhere. So maybe it was all connected. We're talking a long time ago now.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Again,
I think it's really difficult for like a regular Joe like person like myself to I don't want to rag on anybody specific, but just I'll use myself as an example. You know, it's hard for anyone to imagine what it was like 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. I forget like what like my favorite concert I ever went to was like, like that's how. So the conceptualizing time is something that humans are quite bad at. And I think that if we expand, how we conceptualize that,
As evidenced by the daylight savings time debacle. If we were
bring it
better
way
at
back. We're
time,
gonna bring it all the way back. At the end of the show, we're gonna have a good theory on that. I'm with you, man.
yeah.
I had a few show notes to point out. I forgot to. Well, I didn't forget. I thought we went live on Instagram, but we didn't. But now we are live on Instagram. But it appears that they're starting the show from the beginning, and so that's cool. It's catching them up. So if you're watching on Instagram, thank you so much. This is our first time live on Instagram. We're trying to build our Instagram following. So thanks a lot. We've got a third week in a row returning. Buddy person in the chat, Piano Andante. He actually, or she, I don't know, jumped in and commented on our recent interview with Marilyn Cornell, the capital murder mitigation specialist. So he's been watching, or they've been watching that as well. So thank you so much for the support, Piano Andante. I believe you said you were from San Antonio, but I could have made that up.
San Antonio's a great little city. I love it. I like it.
Yeah, me too. I did my combat medic training in Fort Sam Houston, which is right out of that town. And then when we were like 22 years old and we've been like locked up for 20 weeks or something, and they kicked us loose and we just tore that town apart. But it was a good time.
Wow.
And also in the chat, we've got our new friend from Rebirth of the Word. He's going to be joining. He's got a website. Yeah, he's got a website.
Tuning in on the X platform. We appreciate that.
Oh yeah, X platform as well. Rebirth of the Word's here. Check him out on X. Check out his website, Rebirth of the Word, and check out his YouTube channel. Great guy. Lots of good information on ancient history. And he's going to be on the show next week.
Awesome.
Want to throw up George's article from the Pharaohs magazine?
Yeah, let's do that. Boom.
Here we go.
Yeah, the artwork is incredible. The team's
tell
incredible.
us about how this came together, George.
So, I don't know, a couple of years ago or so on X, it was Ricardo and the Institute for Natural Philosophy that I saw. And, I consider myself an amateur philosopher. Many people say I should drop the word amateur. And I said, well, I have a lot more to learn. I don't make any money from it. So I'm still in AAA, right? And I have a lot more to learn. And I don't think I've earned the title of philosopher as of yet. After reading so much work from, like I said, Trismegistus to Aristotle and all the books behind me, Plato and Socrates, I can't even hold a candle to them. So I'm going to consider myself an amateur philosopher. But when I saw the Institute in particular, I don't know, a year or two ago, I offered to assist being an artist and having my own website and developing my own material content, being a writer. I have 2 published books of poetry. So it was like a natural fit for me. And I thought it, again, like when we spoke before about fulfilling that part of you that wants to help someone, I offered my help to them in any way just to participate. So we became friends and we developed some merchandise and we did a lot of merch type things, whether it be recreation of maps, old books, some of the oldest books ever published, which we did, which I have a few here somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty interesting if I could find it. I have so many books here. Here.
Yeah, and actually, George was Yeah, that's on. Is that on the site too? Is that on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recreated the book exactly. Well, I'm not, I made it shiny and modern, but I took this Multiverse from 1702 and I recreated the whole book
Cool.
exactly the way that it is,
Gorgeous.
even with the print through here. So it was done this way on purpose.
Wow.
And I recreated the whole thing and we sell it on our website. It's one of the most ancient books. And the other one is the speculum. It's a speculum. It's the Kabbalah.
Yep.
Same
Yeah.
thing. I even left exactly the way that it's printed, front and back. Even these parts here, which is tape on the original on the book. So I recreated the book exactly the way that it was. This is the first edition. I even took out the white lines around the side, even the stains on the book.
Yeah. Wow.
How
Yeah, it's gorgeous. The attention to detail is gorgeous. And you guys can find this on yorgosdesigns.com.
Yes, absolutely. We've sold a few as well. So these are some of some of the ones that are written here. I don't even know some of the. I can't even read them. Obviously, they're in Latin, but exactly the way that they are is exactly the way that I recreated them.
Very cool. And what was the map? There was a map on the notebook I ordered. What's the map on there?
That was what. Well, I have several of them as well. So Ricardo and the team at the Institute have high digital scans of ancient maps,
Mhm.
and I thought it would be fantastic, a great idea to print them on notebooks and recreate them as well, canvas, metal prints, posters, so that you can have one framed and put on your wall like you see in any office or what have you. So the notebooks that I'm going to send you, for instance, you in the team, I took that map exactly how it was and I put it on a journal. So it'll be like this, a line journal, and it'll be printed. And I had done that. Also, I created the institute, and I worked with the institute to create all those type of all that type of merch. A lot of it, with the maps, the book, and then shirts. Thank you to anybody that's purchased shirts, hats, some of those type of product as well. So I've been working with them for a year or so, and just got involved and I helped out the best I could. And when Ricardo's always had this vision specifically, yeah, you can you scroll down a little bit and then go down to collections
Mhm.
and go down, keep going down, and then view all collections right there. Right. And then go down to the Institute of, there you go, click on that. And there
cool.
you go.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
yeah, that's my hand in the picture too. We want to make it look real.
Yep.
But yeah, so as you can see exactly what I've done, and I put these different pieces, stickers, magnets, shirts, hats in particular. I recreated some things. The tumblers are real cool. The stainless steel tumblers, different things with the design. I took maps, put them on bags, and even the journals of the books. I just put the covers on the journals. So instead of just the whole book that you can't read, you could actually have one that looks like the original book.
And then fill it out with your notes as you wish. That's
Yeah,
pretty
then you
cool.
could write your own masterpiece, man, from 2025 instead of 1702. You're the man now.
Yep.
But yeah, so jackets, like I said, these little magnets. What's pretty cool is the 1,000-piece puzzle with one of the ancient maps on it. So that was the Atlas of 1641, or I had a couple different ones, but that in particular, it's pretty cool. Comes in a box. It has the map. You put it together.
That is cool. It's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
these are a couple. So these high quality scans that Ricardo had and the team had there, said, what can we do with them? And I have, access to a lot of different products, in particular this and the the frames, because all throughout my house is either my mother's artwork or mine, and I print up. I have stuff that's I don't even know, but
Yep.
a lot of the canvases that I have everywhere throughout my house were my artwork. So I'm like, well, I can do the same thing with this, because these scans of the maps, they're incredible, and they come out crisp and clear. It's not like a bullshit map.
Yep.
So I put them on bags, a travel bag, a little, a couple different things to see if that would work, and it came out. It looks pretty good. On the bags, it looks great.
Yeah, I
These
also
look
noticed
awesome.
they do. I love them. I'm going to order some for my office. Some of those wall ones. I wanted to also point out that you did the merch for Cosmic Summit 2025. It does before I bring that up. If purchases for the Institute for Natural Philosophy, does some of that go to help out the Institute and the magazine?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, absolutely. So,
okay, so if you guys want to support Pharos Magazine, which is we're showing you George's article there, which is a newly launched article by Institute for Natural Philosophy, go ahead and hit George's website and check out some of the merch. Oh yeah, we're going to
you could go back to the website real quick, and the Cosmic Summit as well. So what I've done, is create collections for certain institutes or nonprofit or whatever events.
Right here.
And I did it same thing. So I worked with the Cosmic Summit, and I helped out their team there and put together the merch, and same type of thing, different hats, sweatshirts, those type of things, and journals. So I did the same thing with them as well, and I listed on my website. And eventually the goal is to sell and donate to them or give it to them, whatever it is. So it's
that's actually that's where Dave and I met, was at the summit last year. And then we kept in touch for a few months, didn't really do anything at, what was that, June, whenever they had it. And then in the fall, we decided to kick a podcast off, which, of course, inspired by all those topics.
If whoever I would love to speak there, but I probably just brought on to dance there because I'm a good dancer.
Well, they had a dance. They had a dance party. They had a little disco party on the first night.
Did.
It was in need of dancers.
All they need to do is, now that Dave's an honorary Greek because he pronounced my name correctly.
That's the move now. Oh God!
We're going to teach you the Greek dancing, and we're going to.
I'm looking forward to it. I just found out, I don't know if I can share it yet, but I just found out another friend of all of ours is going to be coming to the Cosmic Summit. So I think it's going to be a really great year. Got lots of returning speakers and new speakers, and it's going to be cool. Is there any certain? Sorry, go ahead.
So that's how I really got involved with the Institute, and Ricardo's his vision was to create something like a catalog, a magazine, something similar to what a real National Geographic before that was corrupted, something along those lines. And they worked really hard on it. The researchers, those guys are incredible. Like I said, my article, my contribution is nothing in comparison to the researchers that submitted their works and the people that put this together. Jeffrey, and the Europeans. I'm going to say the European guys. They put together an exceptional magazine. They collected everything. They submitted all their writings. So my theories, my philosophies in this article in particular is nothing in comparison to them. I've been writing for quite some time. Like I said, I published a lot of different pieces. I've been publishing on my Substack as well. So, when they said that they were putting this together, I said, I will contribute 4 to 5 pages every month. And it was going to be really the title of my next book, which was Views from an Amateur Philosopher. And that's what I think it works, where a monthly view from George Sakalaris, Yiorgos Designs, about different topics. And this one in particular, if you scroll up to the beginning and start from the beginning, kind of breaks it down. And I wrote it in a challenging way. And I wrote this one in particular with the focus of people with the idea that people are either going to think I'm insane or a philosopher, or at least like my work. And I wrote it so where you would have to read it at least twice to get through some of it.
I definitely did read it twice.
Yeah, and I wrote it specifically like this because when you do read the ancient philosophers, or when you go back to my favorite philosopher, my second favorite's Aristotle, but my first is Trismegistus, and a lot of his writings were, I had to read it 3 or 4 times. The Kybalion, for instance, is one of my favorite pieces of philosophy, if you want to look at it. And this is genius. And if you compare the writings, his writings in this in particular, some of his writings are what scientists are finding today, or at least within the last 100 years, and that was written thousands of years ago. So
Yeah.
I kind of wrote it in the. I'm going to say I'm a student of that type of writing or whatever, and I really sat there and put together and wrote in a little bit of a challenging way. So I write a little bit differently than most people. I put my quotes in there, and I put a lot of my poetry to sum up some of the writing that I had written. So if you could take it from the beginning and just read the first paragraph, you could understand a little bit about, the general topic of this is it's a kickoff of my idea and what I believe in.
Did you want to read the first paragraph or so for us?
Yeah. Bring it back. You can bring it back there, and we'll read it right from the screen. Just all you need to know is within the infinite vastness, nothingness of the universe, there is light and life that you can see, and love that you can feel. And they exist in the most infinitesimal form in comparison to the impressive, infinite, barren grandeur. And hidden within that which we describe as nothing exists everything. So if you look at the universe, the infinite universe, the darkness, and what we describe as nothing, there is a small dot that contains everything. And we exist in the most infinitesimal form in the universe. We are the smallest component of the universe, and all the way down to an ant, to a molecule, to an atom. So within that huge vastness is everything. It's life, it's love, and it's light. So when I wrote this piece in particular, it was focused on that part of that part of the universe that is so infinitesimally small, but is the most meaningful part of that universe. So in order for you to understand really that the light, you have to understand the darkness and what's contained within the darkness. So it's like it's also like a therapeutic type of reading as well. We're going to take people to therapy, but but in a sense, I speak a lot about the metaphysical and the physical and the mental aspect of everything. So if you choose to allow yourself to be consumed by that universe, that darkness within the universe, you will never see the light. You can never appreciate the light, and you can never actually see or feel the love. So a lot of this is written in this fashion or so. And then what I've done is, it's about the conscious, the subconscious, the aspects of the all. Mm-hmm. So what you perceive and how you perceive the universe, or what you perceive is, I could be focused just on the darkness because that's what the universe is, or I could look at that most distant little dot of light and have a belief that there is something else exists outside of this consuming darkness. So your perception is, okay, I'm living in the dark, but I do see this one little light there, and if you focus on that light, that changes. That's what a perception is.
This reminds me of a conversation we had with Ricardo the other day, just about focusing on, the light, focus on positive stuff, and listening. I think what Ricardo called it was listening to the voice that was trying to help you and not the ones that weren't. Can you go back up for a second? I did want to read the poem because I felt like it summed up what he said pretty well in his description. Do you mind if I read it?
I like your point about perception, because perception is what collapses the realm of possibilities into our reality.
It's literally measurable. You can see it in a lab. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's it. And what, like I had mentioned, when I write these pieces, I write something a little bit, I don't want to say complex, but a little challenging to read. And then I write an even more challenging type of poem that rhymes. So, yeah, you can read it. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
I will. I'm going to read a couple comments first. History, Myths, and Legends says George is being very humble. His article is awesome. Looking forward to his next one. So are we, Mike and Dave's. Rebirth as a Word said, yep, the atom. And History, Myths, and Legends again says the fractal complexity of reality. And we got our super fan, Piano Andante. He said, he or she says, fascinating. Are we not all a spark of light in this dark world? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read this.
Yes, actually, if you choose to be, yes.
If you choose to be, I like that. That's deep.
And that will, after you read this poem, we'll go into that part, because that'll lead us right into the next.
Cool. So much of what is in fact described as nothingness, emptiness, the space between. The further point is often unseen, yet there is existence. The smallest part of existence presents itself in that which is not. Life in the midst of the void, contained in one blue dot. Love alone is everything, light alone in the midst of the nothing, one piece of a puzzle consumed by darkness. Present is the light that shines in its brightness. I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And, like she said, to go into the next part of what I wrote, and pretty much my belief system for quite some time, I was able to actually sum it up, because like I mentioned, I was born an artist. I was born different. And I think differently. Obviously, you can read this kind of stuff and you think I'm a lunatic or a genius. Either way, I think there's a fine line. I consider myself maybe both. I don't know how to say genius, by no means, but at least creative enough to put something down on writing and think it through, right? So I wouldn't consider myself a genius, maybe a lunatic, but
would you rather be half of a genius or half of a lunatic? That question
probably both. You put both together, and that's me, I guess. But at 51 years old, we don't try to jump off buildings into the pool anymore. So we've gone from that kind of maniac to
Yeah.
But trying to run through a wall and eat glass and cardboard. We don't do these things anymore because. But
I've only ever jumped off of a roof one time into a pool, and get this, it was at the HR lady's house at my very first job, so it must have been okay, right? Like everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, but the older you get, you graduate from that kind of lunacy, or you should.
And you should be graduating to poetry and philosophy.
Yeah, you start to graduate to poetry. That makes like, wow. So I don't know what's more dangerous, the mental or the physical. Breaking your leg or breaking your mind. But
we'll land safely and splash into the pool of ideas from the multiverse as well.
100%. That's the idea. So one of the visions that I've had, and when I get put under anesthesia, I don't know what it is, but I connect with something that's whatever you want to call it, spiritual realm, heaven, God, whatever it is, I connect with, and it helped me a year and a half, 2.5 years ago or so, when I had a colonoscopy, and then I'm in the emergency room. I think they tore my intestine, but anyway, long story short, I was put under anesthesia again because I get these random injuries from being a maniac, and this wasn't my fault though, for sure. So when I get put under anesthesia, whatever it was, and this time when I woke up, I was actually able to write it down. It was It was a summation of really the way that I live or what I believed in, and I was able to put it in writing. in front of people. And when obviously doctors don't believe that because they just want to keep pumping you with medicine. But, I have proof of it and people that witnessed it when I woke up and asked for certain things and spoke a certain way. So what I wrote down, it helped me really sum up what I was trying to say. And that was that this is the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is nothing more than one word, and that's creationism. Okay. And this is the purpose, not to just create life because you think you just create children or so. And I'm a type of guy that believes love is created and not found. So when you look and you create not just children, you have the ability, you inherit and gain the free will to create every aspect of your own reality. You can either create a positive experience or create a negative experience. You can create a positive experience that changes somebody's negative reality. For instance, charity work, which I participate in, is a way to create a positive event to raise money to help those who do not have money. Those people that can't pay for food, those people that can't pay for rent, people that can't pay for college, kids specifically, one of the Greek charities that I belong to. So we create a positive experience to raise money. So we're creating an experience, or you must choose to create either the positive or the negative. There is no in between. It's cut and dry. You can create the positive experience to change somebody's negative reality, or you can create a negative experience, robbing somebody, hurting somebody, you name it.
Even just like being a jerk to your spouse or something, like for no
anything.
Yeah.
Any kind of negativity, negative experiences it will do the complete opposite and change somebody's positive reality. Now, hurting people in particular, and you see a lot of that, it's growing more and more. Like, I don't watch TV. I don't pay attention to the news outside of Twitter. I look at the independent art, the news that way, more or less, because it's not a propaganda BS scripted news.
Right.
So when you look at that, you see more and more negativity, people hurting each other. It's a negative experience that changes somebody's positive reality. It takes somebody's life, hurting people, robbing people. So it works both ways, but the bottom line is you must choose. You must choose one or the other. And a lot of this, it's real simple. You look back thousands of years, it's pretty much written this way. Written in Bible. It's written in the Old Testament. It's written in, whether you're religious or not, it's written. It's written in these books behind me. It's written.
Bhagavad Gita or whatever, however it's called. It's written.
Yes. Yeah.
I said that wrong, but
the Bible. Yeah, that and a lot of those things it's written. It says it there. It's written there for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Philosophers, religious leaders, you name it.
Well, I think that most people, if they're honest with themselves, they can remember a time, this week where they maybe chose to be grumpy and affected somebody in the wrong way. And maybe even within the same week, they caught themselves before they were, spreading negative energy and made the choice, like you said, to create something positive. We've got some comments in the chat. Baseball Cards Before Work says one of my literary heroes is famous for having jumped off of his roof. And I said, "Who's that?" And he said, "Mick Foley, the professional wrestler."
Yeah. Well, he was jumping off everything. That guy. That guy was that guy is a total maniac. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And he's also quite an excellent writer, according to my brother, and says he writes from the heart, much like you, George. Piano Adante says positive experiences, that which bring the soul and the spirit up, is free. Yeah. Isn't that what we're trying to create? Is like a positive experience, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. And it goes back to the do unto others,
do what have done to you.
All that stuff. And
it's a state of mind and a state of willful intention. And it has nothing to do with material possessions or monetary gain. That's the distinction. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
100%. And there's a huge difference between, you said, intent versus mistake.
Yeah.
So there are instances where you make a mistake that hurt other people, but it's not an intentional act, right? So there's also part of that. You intentionally hurt somebody versus making a mistake. Like, for instance, the mistakes that I've made in my life are just that. It's nothing that I regret. I regret nothing because I never intentionally tried to rob or hurt anybody, and I don't have to repent from that. Yeah, trip and fall and spill shit all over the place. I do this all the time. Doesn't matter how athletic or coordinated I am, I still do it. I hit the curb. I whatever it doesn't matter. Those are mistakes. I don't intentionally do it, so I don't have to say. And a lot of times people get caught up in that, living in the past and living with regret, and like, oh, I should have done this and that. Whatever. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I should have done this and that too. I should have played these lottery. You can't live like that. You
And I
can
think
only
it's
live
important to distinguish between a reason versus an excuse. An excuse is trying to make it okay, and a reason just says, "Hey, I made a mistake. There were some reasons behind it, and I'm going to move on and not make the same mistake again." Right? An excuse, you don't need an excuse. You say, "Okay, mistakes happen. Move on, though."
And that's where ego comes in. You can say, once you let go of your ego, okay, and this is a huge part of all of that, you can then accept your mistake and admit your mistake. Okay. And you don't have to sit here and say, no, it wasn't me, because now you're intentionally lying instead of saying, I fucked up, or I messed up, or I did this, or yeah, you know what? I should have done this better. Okay. And that way, you don't live with the regret because you said, yeah, I made a mistake. I messed up. I did this or did that. That's ego. And once you let go of that ego, and once you figure out how to let go of your ego, you free yourself and you don't even realize it. And it's a process of letting yourself. In Greek, it's ego, or me, ego.
Mm-hmm.
So your sense of just me, okay, and who you are, and me. So you let go of some of this, and you let go of your ego. And I actually asked, when I let go of my ego, I said, can you please take this chip off my shoulder too? I mean, take this thing with you. And my ego looked back and said, you need some of that, man. What you talking about? So he left a little bit of that chip on my shoulder. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, and it's funny how you say that. Obviously, it's not good to hold grudges or any long-standing ill regard, but sometimes a little bit of being spurned or a little bit of disappointment does drive you to achieve more excellence than maybe you would have if people had just patted you on the back the entire way. Otherwise,
you need to have some. You need to understand or experience some level of chaos or some level of difficulty at a young age, specifically, I believe. I mean, you don't seek it, but you can't, a lot of times you shy away from these things or try to protect all the kids. But I mean, I let my children experience some of that and make their own decisions, so to speak, but oversee them. I'm not like just let them run wild.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do not, in this instance, if they don't understand a little bit of chaos, let's say 10%, 25% struggle, when the time comes where they do have that struggle in the future, because, I don't want to guarantee it, and I don't wish for it by any means, but there's going to be challenges in their life. They're going to be able to use some of that, what they learned themselves, right? They're going to be able to use that in the future and say, oh, I can handle this. I understand this because I had 10%, 25% challenge. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
This makes me think of a rite of passage, because lots of cultures around the world still have that, but like children had a rite of passage that they would go through. The rite of passage I had to go through was in the military, but it was a very transforming experience for me where, I went through all of basic training. They kick your butt, and they make it so that you feel like you want to give up, but then you don't, and then you make it to the end. And then they give you this rite of passage ceremony. And it was this really transforming experience for me to feel like, okay, I'm growing into a man and as an adult with real responsibility. And sometimes I think we're missing that in our Western culture. rite of passage that's given to young people as, like you're saying, like a challenge, a trial, a tribulation that you got to go through in order to, emerge as an adult.
Yeah, give kids chores. It could be simple as this, right? And giving the kids chores or whatever. I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. How many times? But yeah, these type of things. These are things I work on in life and say, okay, But when it comes down to it, I'm like, okay, they're not doing well in math. I'm not going to sit there and do his math homework for him. I'm going to make him do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to have to learn. And if he fails, what could you do better? I'm not going to sit there and yell at him. I'm like, okay, now you learn your lesson, or you learn. You don't want to fail. You don't want to do this. So all of that's it's all connected, and that's how those challenges. That looking back, the older that I got, the more of some of those challenges that I had helped me prepare with things like one of the things we spoke about previously was September 11th, for instance. Being there on that day, I live in New Jersey, and take the ferry in and watching that all in front of me. That's
Where were you working at that time? What was your job at that time?
I was a stockbroker. So I would commute I lived in the Highlands, New Jersey, right on the water there. And I had a view of New York City from my bedroom. It was 18 miles across from the tip of Sandy Hook, New Jersey, all the way to Wall Street, Pier 11, right? It's 18 miles. That's it. So you could see the city. A lot of my pictures on Instagram are of the city in the distance, right? So you take a ferry 40 minutes, and it goes underneath the Verrazano Bridge. And docks at Pier 11. You get off Pier 11, which is walk over 2 blocks, and it's Wall Street right there. And you walk up Wall Street. You walk all the way up. You see the entire city there. So I used to get off at Pier 11 or 35th Street when I worked in Midtown. And that day, nicest day of the year, literally, the weather was absolutely beautiful. And I witnessed the whole thing. So from the ferry, and even coming back on the ferry was there, and everybody was. So a lot of people that I took, most unfortunate, a lot of people from my town, a lot of people that took the ferry with me didn't come back. And that's the worst part of the whole thing. But yeah, that, some of the challenges in the past helped me deal with that kind of thing. But I didn't work for 2 years after that. I was a mess. Start playing around with drugs, drinking, whatever. But
I think the whole city probably did.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's doing drugs now, but nah.
It's traumatic.
Yeah, no. So it's a post when you have to put your name down on a FBI, NSA, whatever it is, survivor list of a terrorist attack, kind of hits home,
Yep.
But it's a tough type of thing. And then, yeah, that's one of my pictures that you could see from my neighborhood. No, about 7 miles from here. But yeah, that's what I did for, I don't know, 15, 18 years or whatever. Yeah, right there.
There we go.
That's 8 minutes from my house. That's Middletown, New Jersey. And you could see the city right there in the background. It's on a clear day. It's even more impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, man. You guys got to come to Jersey. We'll show you around over here. It's not all smokestacks and people just getting robbed.
No, that's the plan. I was in Hoboken before, and I really liked it. So we'll definitely pass through. Are you coming to Cosmic Summit?
I don't know. I'm going to try. Is it in May or June again, right?
I don't remember, actually.
It's a little later. I remember it was on like Father's Day weekend last year.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't come. It was on Father's Day, and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Brittany says it's the end of June.
They pushed it out a few weeks, I think.
Yeah, see, this is all right here facing New York City. I mean, this is all those pictures of mine. This is all sunset pictures that I take.
Sunset. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, see, when you say Jersey, people think it's like mob everywhere and people just getting the shit kicked out of each other all over the place. But this is actually real New Jersey, pictures like this.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's just my street. So all this sunset pictures, everything. So, I used to commute into the city here and there, and And then,
Cool.
the September 11th is probably a show we could spend 5 hours on. That's
Brittany just told
Well,
us
you-
June 20th to 23rd is the Cosmic Summit this year. Is that sounds like my mom's birthday? Mom, hi mom, if you're watching. I think my mom is watching. That's my mom's birthday, but yeah.
happy
birthday.
birthday to her in advance. I guess we're the first person to tell her this. Right?
Yes, yes.
live on the show.
Piano and Dante said, not sure if I heard correctly what the guest said. Did he mention Sandy Hook? He said you could see the school from your house.
No. The Sandy Hook Bay, Sandy Hook, New Jersey
Oh,
is Sandy Hook, New Jersey is a federal reserve. It's at the end. Well, it's Central Jersey, Red Bank, Middletown. Sandy Hook is like a peninsula that goes out into, I think it's 8 miles or so, 8 miles long. It's beaches, all this stuff. So
yeah, I had that confused too. I was like, did he say Sandy Hook? But that's got that
No.
like connotation to it.
yeah,
But
you can type up Sandy Hook, New Jersey if you want to Google it real quick. It'll show you what Sandy Hook, New Jersey looks like, and they have like a lot of wildlife there. Seals come sit on the beach. They have snow owls in the winter.
Mhm.
It's all beaches, and it was a state. Now I think it's federal preserve or reserve, whatever they say it is.
cool.
Yep.
It's a beautiful, beautiful part of New Jersey. I live right across the bay from there.
Awesome.
Not all smokestacks and mobsters.
I never really imagine it like that. I imagine everyone talks like you though.
Yeah, even worse. Even worse.
Mike,
Mine's like a Greek American Jersey accent, so it's like we're gonna get off the hook easy.
I wanted to throw your article back up.
Yeah,
I like your quote here about the difference between knowledge, perception, reality, and truth. Basically, perception defines our reality. Knowledge is out there. Knowledge is sort of the truth that exists independently of what we perceive, and that knowledge plus our perception is what creates reality. Knowledge minus that perception, we're left with what the truth is. That rings true from everything that I've observed or figured out.
yeah, and a lot of what you think it's all knowledge, perception, reality, truth, and a combination of all.
Perception's easily clouded. Our perception as humans is very limited, and there's obviously folks out there that are trying to shape that perception. So in the pursuit of knowledge, don't put too much faith in your perception.
It's actually really easy to do so because people like the people within, and I don't want to sound cocky or conceited by any means, but people that operate on a lower vibration frequency are easily swayed by the propaganda and can buy into, and they pretty much are the ones that watch TV and believe what's ever said. And perfect example of the drone. When we start discussing some of that drone, is some of that nonsense was I couldn't even believe. But yeah, those people.
We started talking about drones about a month ago. How was that in your area?
Yeah,
that's a lead in.
If you want, or you can skip over that.
Yeah.
Way.
You can bring up the article and we could finish a couple of those pieces, and I can. But bottom line is that the perception, the propaganda, and a lot of what I write is more focused on finding truth or the truth. But the purpose of life in particular is creationism. Like I had wrote underneath that quote, you're given the free will to create every aspect of your own reality.
Yep.
And that's the ultimate purpose. And a lot of times people think creation, you just create life, and it goes well beyond that. It's about creating everything and creating the experience that has not just the experience, creating products, creating it all leads to knowledge. It all leads to lessons and learning. And I think the purpose is to create something. And what you create is really the most important thing. So you can read through my 5 pages. A lot of the things I speak about are related to that. And for instance, some of the things that within this, I lead into time. And then I quote it with my poetry, how we live in the past, we prepare for our future last. We observe the present. We have lost our methods of realization of what we should repent. Excuse me. I can't see. I'm getting old. There we go. That's better.
Perfect.
It's all right.
Tracing time along paths scattered with remnants of old, basking in rays broken by trees and stories left untold. To be much more than a simple observer, you participate in life's challenges and spread the positive light further. So it isn't enough to listen and observe from afar. Understand the lessons learned from the experience of old will allow you to be a true shining star. So, in other words, the same type of thing you could sum up and say the lessons that you learn from the mistakes that you made will allow you to move forward and become a true shining star, so to speak. You can't just sit there and be an observer. You need to participate in the life's challenges and spread that light further. So it's up to you to choose to do that.
Yeah, I like how you said the first three lines. We live in the past, we prepare for the future last, we observe in the present. I believe that most people's, emotional suffering exists in the past and in the future. And rather than, and it's the sort of this struggle. I happens to me where, it's the worry about the future, the regret about the past, or ruminate about the past. But when you can really, raise your vibration in a way that you're focusing solely in the present and only being in the past and the future when it's useful to you, that's when people can really start being creative and really start. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying here.
Yeah, actually, I honestly don't believe the future exists because you create the future.
Right.
So, I mean, you prepare for the future because it doesn't exist until you create it, which you can't create unless you learn from the mistakes of the past and live in the present and apply what you learned in the present to create the future. So, my next article that I'm writing, just to give you a heads up, is about fate, chance, and luck, and how none of those truly exists, and they're just words to describe that which we cannot easily calculate. Doesn't mean that it's not calculable, but you just can't do it, right? You might not be able to do it. You might not be smart enough, but there is a formula, or it is a way to calculate something. If we just had fate or destiny or what have you, then there wouldn't be any. Then it would be already written in stone. It's 8 billion people written in stone. You walk down that path no matter what happens. Then that takes away your free will. That takes away your ability to choose because it is what it is, right? That dumb saying that everybody uses. That's not how it is. You create. You create. You create your own future. You create your own love. You create your own anything. You create your own experience. And that will lead you into the future. So the future doesn't exist. It exists in the present, preparing for it. So people that live in the past aren't living in the present, and they're not creating. They're not looking forward to the future because they didn't use what they learned in the past. So a lot of that time and all of that is within this article. My thoughts about time, how that exists or doesn't exist, and how some of the things, like for instance, part of the article that I wrote is about that you can't see God, but you also can't see love. You can see the actions of love, right? So those people that question God or the creator or Allah or the divine or the theos or whatever you want to say, saying there is no such thing because you can't see him, as science would say, right? But you also can't see love. You can only see the action of love, and you can't see the air, but you breathe the air. So there's things that you can't physically see. The things are all mental. So you create the love. You could feel the love. You can't see the love unless you could see the actions of the love.
An example that I like to fall back on, or that I keep going back to myself, simple electromagnetism. Yeah. Now we can measure it. We can detect it, measure it. We understand it. We can manipulate it. But there existed a time in our understanding in this present iteration before we could understand, before we could detect or measure the effects of electromagnetism. Did that make it not real before we could measure it? Did that make it any less part of the fabric of reality simply because we couldn't count it as accurately as we can today? So if that was true in the past, who's to say that today there are not other things that are real and true that we can barely detect, that we can't measure repeatably, that we don't understand the framework well enough to define it out mathematically yet? That doesn't make them any less true than electromagnetism is.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Which is why we need to keep looking into those things.
I agree
such as
100%.
The nature of consciousness itself.
We got a comment that kind of goes along with that from Baseball Cards Before Work. It says, all things bend to the whims of the great magnet. And that's a quote from the great Hunter S. Thompson. On the
past and the future, what I've noticed, and what both of y'all were saying, having regret for the past or having fear for the future, it disables you from living appropriately in the moment. You got to resolve those things from the past or resolve that fear of the future so that you can live presently in the moment today. And when you're living presently in the moment today, it's because you're at peace with the past and you've got no worries about the future, right?
George called that letting go, right?
Yep. Yeah, you got to tell your ego to take, just keep some of that chip on your shoulder, man. Trust me on that. But because just a little bit. Because when I told the ego to go, he was like, okay, I fought this guy for a second, and then he leaves, and then he leaves me like this little chip here, and I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I'll keep that.
We got a new person in the chat, Malama Gaguras. Hopefully I said that right, but they said beautifully said in relation to what you were talking about there, George. Don Davidson left. Thanks, Don, for coming. Moving on with towards the end of the article here. And you can also scan for Yiorgos Designs on the bottom corner of this page if you want to.
I put a lot of my my artwork and that brings you to the general page, but more or less I would encourage people to read it for themselves and discuss it, and they can reach out to me and discuss it because I love to discuss ideas, theories, philosophies, anything really. And a lot of times some of the things I write have a question mark because I am asking a question, and some people get that fact that I'm asking a question and they'll answer it, or they'll say, yeah, this is what I think. That's kind of when I write it challenging, some people get it, some people don't. So there's like some hidden things in there that, for instance, you could see the question marks in the page, but how? And I ask questions. How would you even know? What would you do? What could you do? Teaching you also to think for yourself, which is part of my writing as well. So it's a little complexity in my, and I have the ability to take some of the complexity and break it down and focus on the simplicity within that complexity. And I think that's lost in society, in the societal construct itself. And I think it's done either on purpose, or people don't have the mental capacity or ability to even break it down. And that's why when I see through the propaganda, I'm like, this is too complex. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Occam's razor again shows up.
Yeah, he's awesome, Occam's razor. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope he's watching. I sent him a link, I think, to the live stream. History, Myths, and Legends says, be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the present. That's a George Lucas quote. Another great George.
Yeah. No, he's not as great as me. I'm nowhere to George Lucas, but yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Well, that's about what we normally cover on a week's show. Did you have any other topics, Dave?
I had depending on George's time, I did have a few other random things that I didn't want to save till next week.
Yeah. If you want to speak about the drones in particular, since I have firsthand experience of seeing them and experiencing them here in the skies, that would be pretty cool.
I definitely do want to talk about that. But the first thing I want to do is just show this quick SpaceX launch, because I'm trying to get doing that. So this is the Astranus from One to Many mission. And these launches are just totally badass. Okay. So that's why. human ingenuity. Okay. Hold on.
We
Sorry,
also
didn't
heard
mean to.
confirmation
So
that
we're
the
about
second
1 minute
stage
out. I'll
has
leave it
completed
there.
propellant load. The white vapors that you
But the
see
astronist
venting
from One
from
to
the
Many
transporter
mission,
erector
I
is
think,
normal and
from
is
what I
part of
can
our
gather,
process for closing out the vehicle and ground systems
it is
ahead of
a
launch.
small
Ground gas
satellite mission. So they're
And
launching
there you hear good
several
confirmation
small
that ground gas
satellites
closeouts
from
are
the
complete, meaning that we are preparing Falcon
from
9's ground
this,
support
and
system for launch
they're
today as well.
launching them, and then they're supposed to connect internet and high-speed internet service through Starlink. But they're a new type of smaller satellite.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the release of these, or at least the theory behind it,
Falcon
where
9
they
is in
have
startup.
smaller ones that just.
And there we have good confirmation that Falcon 9 has taken control of the launch
Yeah,
account.
I think the
and its
idea
tanks
is
are
right
being
that
pressurized for liftoff today.
they're easier to protect. They're
LE
smaller, they're
launch.
lighter payload.
And
They're
with
less
our
of a target out there.
sit back and watch
And you
Falcon
could
9
launch
take the Astronus
50,000
from
of
one
them
to
as
many.
opposed to 5 or 10. Well, maybe not that many, but you could, like 10 times as many can do what 5 or 10 do.
Can you guys hear that? It's saying the host has muted your screen share. Can you guys hear it now?
I was muting it temporarily.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we got about 15 seconds to go to watch this bad boy pop off.
15 seconds.
I would really like to get to one of these, like in person. Mike and I are planning on doing that someday.
But,
Well, he's from Texas. How far is that a drive from you guys? 10, 12 hours?
Approximately, yeah. Mike drives to Texas a lot. He should be able to answer that.
and lift off. Go.
Boom!
Go strong.
Wow.
Big lot.
Vehicle is pitching dead range.
Jeez. Looks like a nuclear bomb test. I love
beautiful.
watching the velocity climb.
Beautiful and terrifying at the same time.
Mm-hmm. We're frozen. There we go.
And 30 seconds into the flight, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40, and we heard some good initial callouts there for power and telemetry nominal and the vehicle pitching onto the proper course for launch today.
Wow.
After clearing the tower,
Power and telemetry nominal.
After clearing the tower today, we tilted or gimbaled the engines to initiate a roll maneuver on Falcon 9. This enables the vehicle's antennas to stay in the best position for communicating with the ground while also slightly pitching the rocket over onto the correct flight path.
Vehicle is supersonic.
And we hear confirmation there that we are supersonic, approaching max Q, or the moment of maximum aerodynamic pressure.
So that'll be about all I show. It's just crazy. The thing is still climbing in speed up to 2,000 kilometers and counting. Whoa, I'm glad we waited for that view.
Max Q.
We're at 16 kilometers of
Hear a good call
altitude,
out that we have
17 and
passed
climbing.
max Q. From this point on, while Falcon 9
Kind
is
of
still
looks like
accelerating
that
to an orbital
serpent
speed of
mound sperm.
approximately 17,500 miles per hour, aerodynamic forces on the vehicle will continue to decrease as we approach.
Also looks like a
under-
dragon, doesn't it?
vacuum of space.
Yeah, it really
and
does.
As you can hear there, we have started to thermally.
Ricardo's pointing out this is still a controlled explosion for the power lift. The same thing the Chinese were doing 3,000 years ago. Do you think we can do better for technology? Where are the 0-point engines at? Where are the G engines at?
Wow.
That will be followed shortly by
mean,
stage
we
separation.
could spend another
followed
2
by
hours on a topic like that about hidden technology.
That we gotta wait till next week. Tune in next week's episode to hear more about warp drives.
Well, we definitely want to bring you on again if you're willing to come on and speculate. That's for sure, and talk about your work and your articles and all that stuff. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Rockets
Yeah,
are fun
because
though.
I think that some of the technology you're seeing today is 20 years old.
I feel like that's it. Our TVs are like that. They're just draining money out of us, giving us crappy TVs, and they could probably make even better ones.
Oh yeah, and the phones. Has your phone gotten better in the last 3 iterations, 5 iterations?
No, not at all. And my PlayStation 4
2009
is the same thing as my PlayStation 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
Yes. Yeah, and we have certain technologies that's been hidden, and the only way, the simplest way to look at it is electricity, the power that comes into your home. You plug everything into a wall, you get charged for it, and you pay for it, and then you pay tax on it. I don't think if there was no monetary gain, all of this technology, our lives would be 50 times easier with all this technology that's been hidden and released slowly in the name of profit and control. Because if they gave you the real technology, then they don't need to control you. And then they don't need your money. And then they don't figure out a way to make money from you and tax you. So
hours a week of your
all the
time, you gotta show
control,
up. Yeah, all that.
control mechanism.
So we wanted to move into the drone topic, but I've been itching to show. So I just found out, guys, that there was a drone or some possible drone sighting in my county, where I literally look up every single night if I can. Okay. And I never see shit. So I was a little disappointed that this happened. But what do you guys think about this?
It is an alien invasion. What is it? Look at them. They moving in circles at the top. See?
I'm probably going to mute her.
The formation on the right, and then they got another formation in the middle, and another formation on the left.
What does that look like to you guys?
What?
Who is this? They don't look.
That reminds me. Go ahead and mute it. I didn't pull up the tweet, but they got these super lightweight LED lights that you can charge up and like stick on a helium balloon and a piece of string and a couple of balloons and send them up in the air, and you can make some pretty convincing looking triangular formations with these lightweight cheapo LED lights.
Well, I do think that a lot of this sightings are misidentifications, also hoaxes. Like I saw some people like literally light some, makeshift Chinese lanterns and stuff that and make them look just like a mystery drone, that kind of thing. But what Mike and I have been following this since late November, and it seemed to just keep increasing and increasing. Our producer Brittany is from Long Island, and it got to the point where she was sending us video and pictures of them above her house. And they were reporting mystery drones on every single news channel. And once you start seeing it saturate the mainstream news, that's when you really need to start going, wait a second, what the blank is going on here?
At that point, it's too late.
Yeah, the best was one of those, political people that lead us. Like, keep it simple. I don't know, the senator, the congressman, right? The people that are in charge comes out, and he said it was an Iranian mothership, okay, that released drone, and from there I was like, okay, what, like Star Wars, where you open the bay doors and or like Terminator, like one of the Terminator movies.
I've seen them all.
Fly over, and then all the little things came out. So it flew. The Iranian mothership flew over the Middle East, Europe, and the Atlantic Ocean. It's in the Jersey airspace, right? And it just released all these drones, and that's what's going. I'm like, who would believe that nonsense? Number one. Okay, number two, this is supposed to be a serious man that is running this country, or part of the political. What are you talking about, man? For real? Are you out of your mind? But people believe this. People believe this stuff. And people will regurgitate this because it's on the news, and you think that's the dumbest thing I've heard anyone say. Okay, I live, like I said, where I live here, Earl Naval Base is 7-8 miles from here. Okay, there's train tracks. You make a right on the train tracks down this road. The MPs are on you. It's over for you. We used to do it as a kid, and you say, okay, go home, punk kids. Now that doesn't work. Okay, you can't even get close to that area. So you're just telling me the Iranian mothership's just launching, the bay doors open and Red Wing fighter flies out, right? Right? Like, or the Terminator movie where it just opens up and all these drones come out. You got that kind of technology and you're flying around. Nobody sees anything. Nobody sees. Come on, man.
Don't you think Amazon would have known, because they had to deliver 40K drones to an address in Iran, like the Iranian capital, and they delivered them. Guess how they delivered them? By drone delivery.
You can't even make a right down the one road. And you tell me, forget it. They used to load nuclear weapons on ships and submarines there. There were train tracks that run there. You can't just You can't even go within. They have a 3-mile pier. You can't go around a 3-mile radius of the pier. And you're telling me that they're releasing drones, random drones, and they're gonna fly over naval bases? Not buying it. So
FAA compliant drones too.
yeah. Right. Absolutely, 100%. So the propaganda got out of control, and the talking heads want to see what the people will believe. So they have different scripts that they read and see what the people believe and what they talk about.
Do you think
The
it's
only
all a big
thing that-
test to see what'll stick, what won't stick, what'll
Yeah.
instigate fear? Yeah.
What both of you said when we spoke originally, the only theory that makes any kind of sense to me is they're looking for some type of chemical biological weapon that was snuck into one of the ports here or released, was snuck into any of the ports that here on a ship, container ship, and they're looking for that signature. Only thing, because the other propaganda, come on, man, that's way too much Star Wars, Terminator, and those other sci-fi movies. Like these guys can't even have running water in some of these villages of them. They're gonna have a drone like that and it flies over everywhere.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Exactly.
Okay. What do you think, like mystery drones aside, and I want to hear your description of like your own sightings of these drones, but drones aside, like what do you think about the UAP phenomenon? And is that same thing?
I believe that life is in the universe is full of life. My theory is that each solar system has some type of life on one planet or more. And I think that and honestly think it's designed that way on purpose because we're a violent civilization. We kill people for no reason. So if there was life on Mars, we're going to try to invade Mars to take their shit. So I think it's actually designed that way for people like us. We'll just, try to profit off of everybody. I think that, there's probably each solar system contains life. The next closest solar system to us and star to us could have civilizations that are, according to, if the Earth is 4.5 billion years old and the universe is allegedly 20 billion years old, that means 16, 15 billion years
worth of stuff going on.
Okay, so there could be, and we're not the first planet that was created in the universe, obviously, or else we would be 20 billion years old. So let's say a planet was created 19 billion years ago. They're 14, 15 billion years ahead of us. Imagine we've seen technology for 100 years have passed. We've gone from a horse and buggy to a car in a matter of 50 years, not even, almost right away, really. Yeah, we landed on the moon. We went from horse and buggy 60, 70 years later, we're landing on the moon. So imagine what 15 billion years looks like.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out a few comments quick. Piano and Dante says Elon Musk's brother is the CCO of a huge drone company. I did hear that. He said they said they're playing with the masses' minds and they think that the Starlink and the drones are connected. I've heard that. I'm open to most possibilities at this point that aren't being said on mainstream news.
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever it is, it's not an Iranian mothership.
No,
that's for certain. And I did see a couple flying. And they look like little helicopters. Yeah, with the FAA lights, you could see them.
Could see like it was close enough that you could make out the whole structure.
Yeah, it's not a UFO.
Yeah,
it's like a little helicopter. It doesn't even move that fast. You see it. If it was a UAP or a real UFO, first off, you wouldn't even see it, and you would see it for a second. It's gone. Because I've seen things in the sky that are unidentified. I'm not saying it's an alien, but I couldn't identify it, and it's definitely not a plane. I have pictures of random things in the sky that don't make any sense and no one can explain. So, again, are they here on this planet? Maybe, maybe not. Do they exist in the universe? Well, there's no doubt. that there's life in the universe.
For sure. That brings me to another comment in the chat from Jay the Jedi. They're a returning commenter as well. They said this planet is full of life that we haven't yet experienced, and I like that as a thought experiment too. The idea that we are arrogant enough to think that we're the only because we don't know jack about the ocean. We also have a very limited, as Mike said earlier, field of perception based on our crappy detection systems, our senses, right?
Do you really think the apex intelligence, the apex civilization in the solar system and the galaxy is going to be confused about daylight savings time and whether or not it's
Mike.
Yeah. So if we're the only civilization, people can't even tie their shoes. Okay. And this is the best. Come on, man. There's no way. Yeah. We're talking about
it's just no, the sun's over there. No, the sun's actually over there. You got to change your clock. No, the sun is where it's at. All right. Wake up when you want to.
Yeah. These guys used to pray on this mound over here. These guys put on some togas and the sandal set and walked 500 miles into the desert. And they just decided to make these stones, like 200,000 pound stones, and carry them through the desert real slow and construct this beautiful temple for somebody. Like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. So if we're the best the universe has, forget it. It's finished.
Forget it. Jay the Jedi had a good laugh at that. Baseball cards before work says the important thing is to not stop questioning. I agree. When a human, I've learned in my 20s, if a human starts saying, I've got all the answers, don't worry, I've got you covered, I immediately dismiss that person. Not that like I dismiss them as a person, I just don't take what they're saying to be like believable, because they're in a box. They think they know everything and they definitely don't.
Believing in science is a big difference in believing in science and thinking scientifically.
Yes.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because believe the science is the least scientific thing I've ever heard in my life. And we were getting indoctrinated with that. Hopefully this doesn't get us canceled on YouTube. But
hypotheses aren't facts. It's important to have hypotheses and to talk about them and to discuss theories. But let's not confuse a working hypothesis with a law of nature. This is very, very different.
Yeah, just what they were saying to you is but not believe the science, but believe the propaganda.
Exactly.
And they just left out the word. But yeah, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like it's a good time to wrap it up.
This has been a super fun show. We really appreciate George coming on the show today.
Yeah.
I love it. We could do this again. We could speculate on other things. I mean, forget it. But I got books.
I can go all day.
I have 50 books of just written. Some of it's total nonsense, but at least I wrote it. But yeah, I mean, we could do this all day long. And what I'm going to do is I sent Ricardo my next article. I'll share it with you guys in advance too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Read through it. Let me know. And I'm going to send you the books next week. I'm going to, we'll talk again and we'll put it together.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. Just a couple of quick housekeeping: like and subscribe, hit the notification bell if you like our live streams. We also do a series, Humans of the Multiverse, where we interview. So stay tuned for an upcoming interview with. We're going to book one with George. He's going to do one. We've got an upcoming interview with Chris, who we're dropping tomorrow.
We plan to drop recorded interviews every Friday going forward in this new year, so long as we can record enough to keep dropping them on Friday. Yeah. And so tomorrow we're going to drop an interview with a friend of mine who I met in town, who's an Air Force veteran that worked on nuclear missile silos and is also an amputee, who's going to tell us about his leg and a near-death experience he had in the hospital after that. So.
Yeah, very interesting, kind, compassionate guy. Also, if you didn't see it, please check out our episode featuring Marilyn Cornell, the capital murder mitigation specialist and homeless veteran advocate. She's incredible, and so is her interview. I just feel like it needs more watches, because she's an amazing person. And thanks to everyone who showed up in the chat. And we're done. Peace out.
Peace out. Thanks
for having me, guys. Have a
All
great day, great night, I should say. Thanks.
We'll end the stream here.